Hey there, beer tubers. Welcome back to Beer Analysis 101, where we don't have the Beer Patrol tonight because he's out on patrol. Anyway, tonight on Beer Analysis 101, we're going to take a look at something from jolly old England, actually the northeast side of England, Newcastle Brown Ale. It's not actually technically brewed in Newcastle anymore, but we'll get into that in a moment. First and foremost, let's get down to the panel that's here with us tonight as we start reasonably close to on time, not like 15 minutes late as usual, because people actually showed up this time. Thank you.
Yeah, Nick, blame others. That's what a good host does.
You were the last one here. Anyway, Ash, Mr. Sexton, Sexton Brewing Co. Love the new work you're doing on your channel, and how you doing tonight?
I appreciate that, and I'm doing great. I had the day off, so got my new barbecue going, did some day drinking, made sure my children didn't kill themselves, and here I am.
So why'd you do that?
Mild supervision.
Oh.
So the big question I want to know is, which one did you start with, charcoal or the natural gas grill?
I've had that old charcoal one for like 8-9 years now.
I thought that's what his kids' names were for a second.
Yeah, charcoal and natural gas.
And natural gas girl.
Yeah. Her real name's Bridget, but he keeps calling her Briquette.
Briquette? Yeah. It's French.
Anyway, yeah, all right. And anyway, to follow up that stupid joke is Mr. Lee Russell of They Must Be Destroyed on Sight podcast. How you doing tonight? And thanks for coming.
I feel a little woozy. I donated some blood today.
I see what he did there.
But otherwise, really good.
Why do I suddenly want to go to McDonald's?
It's the flavor.
Right. Okay, and Mr. on the 10th himself, or off the 10th. Sorry about that. How you doing tonight, Chris?
I immediately regret buying this beer from the beginning of this video already. But I'm here now, and thank you, Macwell, for hosting today, as you do all the time. I can't wait for the actual first season to be complete. What are we, 57 episodes in? We're good. So
we're probably more than 57 episodes now. We're probably, I don't know. I got to go back and count. We've been doing this pretty much every week since, God, how long? We've been doing it every week since August of 2017 on Lee's channel. I took it over in August. So it's probably been, I would say, almost closer to 70 weeks we've been doing this now.
Nice.
But I got to do an accurate count before we hit 100. Anyway,
we did miss a couple weeks or whatever.
There was like we haven't missed one in a while, to our credit. But the last time we missed a week, I think, was late last year.
Well, I'm sure we'll crush the Simpsons eventually.
That's right.
I think it was Christmas.
Yeah, you might be right.
No, I'm always right.
Speaking of someone who's always right, Mr. Greg.
I'm always right.
No, but
okay?
You think you're?
That's true. I do. I'm actually really excited, Nick, because this is a macro beer. Am I right on this? I haven't done any.
Yeah, it's made by Heineken.
So I'm actually really excited. This is a macro beer because, as we know, macro beers, they got their shit together. They make everything nice and smooth. There's no chance of haze or chunks in this. And you know what? I feel that by reviewing this, it's going to get a bad score because I didn't get it for free. But I feel that we're on our way to becoming big, fat, 300-pound losers with fat heads that are going to drink really quality macro beer that's always consistent.
You know it.
Hashtag beer shill.
Right.
I just wanted to say, comment on the weight so nobody thinks I'm talking about Redbeard, because that could all really apply to him too. Hi, Redbeard.
Yeah. You have to say the big head part instead of the.
He's gonna Photoshop you out of existence.
Ginger beard. All right, so let's get down to the dirty and read the history on this thing. Newcastle Brown Ale can trace its origins to 1860 in Newcastle-upon-Tyne, UK, following the merger of 5 breweries such as John Barris & Co. Limited, which were the owners of the Tyne Brewery in Newcastle, William Henry Allison & Co. of North Shields, J.J. Allison of Sunderland, Swinburne & Co. of Gateshead, and Carr Brothers & Carr of North Shields. This major merger of breweries at the time brought a total of 215 public houses under one roof. In 1909, James Herbert Porter, son of a master brewer, began working at Newcastle Breweries. However, his career was interrupted by the outbreak of the First World War, in which he attained the rank of lieutenant colonel and twice received the Distinguished Service Order, twice for gallantry. Colonel Porter returned to Newcastle breweries after the war. In the years that follows, the company's directors became aware of the rising popularity of bottled beer in the early 1920s and asked the brewers to begin working on a new recipe. Porter worked alongside his brewery's chief chemist, Archie Jones, for 3 years to develop the new beer. Porter and Jones created this beer by blending a strong aged beer with a light pale ale for a distinctive taste. 3 years later, this new beer was ready to market as Newcastle Brown Ale. At first, Porter had thought the beer was a failure, having tried to emulate Bass, a popular British pale ale. However, it turned out to be a success. The original beer had original gravity of 1060. I think the degree is Plato, isn't it?
Plato, yes.
Yeah, and 6.25 ABV, and it sold at a premium price of 9 shillings for a dozen pint bottles. Yay. Newcastle Brown Ale went in production in 1927 at the Tyne Brewery. In 1928, the blue star logo was debuted on bottles of Newcastle Brown. With the 5 points of that star representing the 5 founding breweries, and that's actually like the skyline of Newcastle in there, and they've updated it over the years to reflect changes in the city. Anyway, Newcastle Brown would go on to win all 7 major awards at the 1928 Breweries Exhibition. That's what the medals on the can represent. Okay, so Newcastle Brown would become a popular beer in the northeast of England, a symbol of working class culture and associated with shipbuilding, coal mining, armaments, and steel forging industries of the area, where it would become affectionately known as Newkie Brown. During the Second World War, supplies were limited and Newcastle and other breweries switched to brewing lower strength beers out of necessity. However, Newcastle refused to compromise on their flagship product and simply produced less Newcastle Brown rather than dilute it. That attitude would change. Porter became a rising star at the Newcastle Brewery and became managing director in 1931, vice chairman in 1953, and chairman 2 years later. In 1960, Newcastle Brewery merged with Scottish breweries, famous for their McEwen's export, or the McEwen's Scotch Ale, as we call it over here, becoming Scottish in Newcastle, with Newcastle Brown as their flagship product. Porter would remain as vice chairman and later vice president until his death in 1973. His son Henry would later become chairman of Newcastle and director of Scottish in Newcastle. And by 1980, Newcastle Brown Ale was the best-selling packaged ale in Britain, being sold in 97% of off licenses and 90% of grocers. That's apparently not true today because Craig's not here. By 1985, it's believed Newcastle Brown ceased to be a blended beer around the early 1980s. So basically taking its current form. By 1985, Scottish Newcastle was a large but regional brewery in the north of England. In 1995, Scottish Newcastle purchased rival brewery Courage, renaming itself to Scottish Courage, but returning it to Scottish and Newcastle in 2006. In 1996, the beer was awarded the Protected Geographic Indication, or PGI, by the European Union, meaning it could only be produced in Newcastle-upon-Tyne, its place of origin. Newcastle Brown Ale thus gained the sort of status afforded by Parma ham in Italy and Champagne in France. However, in 2005, Newcastle controversially closed the Tyne Brewery and moved production of Newcastle Brown across the River Tyne to its Gateshead Brewery, which, despite only being 2 miles away, was enough to lose that PGI status. So where it used to have Newcastle Brown, like Parmesan cheese, regional name, and you fucked it up. Anyway, moving right along.
Language, Nick.
Yep. All right. So I don't want to try and do a overview here. In March 2008, a consortium between Heineken International and Carlsberg purchased Scottish on Newcastle, and the brewery changed its name to Heineken UK in November of 2009. Production of Newcastle Brown was moved to the larger John Smith's Brewery in Tadcaster, North Yorkshire, in 2010. In 2015, under pressure from U.S. consumer groups, Heineken modified the recipe to remove caramel coloring for the U.S. market by adding more roasted malts. Not sure if that's true for Canada. Other brands from Newcastle include Newcastle Exhibition Ale, an English bitter, Newcastle Nocturnal, which is another brown ale, as well as in relation to beers from the following brands, which is John Smith's, Younger's, McEwen's, Strongbow Cider, They have the UK license for Foster and Kronenberg, and of course many more. So Newcastle Brown is a 4.7% ABV English brown ale, and is brewed with a blend of pale malt and caramel malt to give it its characteristic brown color, and of course colorings apparently. As per U.S. packaging in 2018, Newcastle Brown is believed to be brewed with Centennial and Chinook hops. Obviously, those hops weren't around almost 100 years ago when this first came out. Anyway, let's move over to the comments where I see Redbeard saying, "Oh, what be going down?" Greg getting ahead of himself and asking what next week's beer is. That's later. Off the 10 says hi Redbeard. Cheers. Oh yeah, Eric Gilbert says cheers, people. And off the 10 says hi Eric, son. And okay, and Kent Beer Reviews is in there saying why aye lads. And cheers, Kent. And sorry you couldn't find this beer anywhere in London.
Why indeed?
I that doesn't make sense. Famous British beer, you can't get it there.
Maybe it's like Foster's in Australia these days.
Could very well be. All right, let's get down to the history with this beer. Mr. Ashley Sexton. Ash Sexton, what's your history with this thing?
I got no history with this beer whatsoever. Nothing. But actually, can I ask you guys just to hold your can up?
Mm-hmm.
You got the black one. Yours is black.
I got a yellow one.
Okay, yeah, mine's yellow too. I was like, fuck, did I get the wrong beer? Like, shit.
Where does it say yours is brewed by on your can, Ashley?
Mine says brewed by the John Smith's Brewery, Tadcaster.
Okay, same here then. All right.
What's your date stamp on the bottom of the can? Mine says 31/5/19, which I'm assuming is
mine's exactly the same. Yeah, that's
31/12/19.
Same, so yeah, 31/12.
So
I'm wondering if maybe it's like a 1 year best before date, and we're drinking 6-month-old cans.
Mine's from mine's a little different. Mine says 31/12/21. Mine's from the future. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Really old cans.
Wow.
Hopefully you went to the future to solve any sock problems that you made.
Oh God.
Well, you got to go to the past to do that.
Well, you could be preemptive striking and make sure you take an inventory of socks.
Take it into count all your socks. Keep that in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Take a preemptive poop.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, I've never had this actually. Surprisingly, it's just been a shelf turd that just sort of hangs around, and I just never really bought one.
Yeah.
You know, I actually do enjoy brown ales, but for whatever reason, it's never really struck me to pick one up and buy it. So fuck, there it is.
Nice. All right, and next up is Mr. Lee. I'm sure you got this.
Yeah, I think first time I had this was sometime in the mid 2000s before I started doing beer reviews. Reviewed it back in I think 2008. The review is terrible. I gave it a 4 out of 5 at that point, saying it was one of the best ales ever made. So that's a review that hasn't aged very well. But yeah, I've sort of had it on and off over the years. Haven't had it in a long while. I've heard it's gone through some changes. People claim it's changed in the last few years, like it's gone down in quality. I don't know if I'd say that, but we'll get to that when we get to the review. But yeah, it's a beer, you know, it's a beer I'm familiar with. I've had and I've liked and enjoyed. So there you go.
Nice. All right, Mr. Chris.
I am in the same boat as Ashley Sexton. I've never had this beer. I've never gravitated towards a brown ale, but unlike Ashley Sexton, I'm not a fan of brown ales in general, so that's probably why I've never had it. And I did buy 2 cans of it because when we get down to reviewing it, I will be physicsing my second can for us to see if it changes my opinion on it later, whether it's good or bad. We'll see.
Nice. All right. Greg, what's your history?
I actually have a history with this beer. First time I tried it very early into my craft beer drinking days, like it may have actually been before I had actually really drank craft beer. I was enjoying like Rickard's White and stuff like that. And I was at, I think it was Moxie's Bar and Grill, and Agnes's friend was there with her new boyfriend, and he ordered it, and he asked if I ever had it before, and I said no. So he poured half his beer into my glass, and ever since then I loved him, and because he shared his beer with me, and then they broke up like a month later. So Danielle, if you're listening, I hope you and your current husband can rot in hell because you didn't pick the right man. Anyway, continuing on with that, I've had it a few times since then. Probably most prominently in Vegas. I don't know which trip to Vegas, but I know one of them, it contributed to a large part of my drunkenness because it was really cheap. And at the time, I thought it was quite good for what it costs. So, yeah, I've had a bunch of times. Sometimes I don't remember. It's been a little while since I've had it, though.
Yeah, you fucked up, Danielle.
Yeah, you really fucked up. Plus, your current husband, I think, is gay. He pretends to like you, but he doesn't.
Oh my god!
Wow. Oh Lord! All right. So let's go back to comments. And does anybody want me to keep reading them, or does anybody want to volunteer?
I'm just gonna put this on the screen right now because I don't really know what's going on anymore.
You're accurate. It's definitely true. All right. So Kent Beer Review says, I assumed I could get this anywhere, but not in the 6 places in walking distance. It's in most pubs and larger supermarkets. Yeah, I mean, I would have thought this would be like ubiquitous there. I mean, I thought you would be able to get it everywhere. Eric Gilbert says, cheers, sons. Cheers, son. Yeah, anyway. Redbeard says, there was none here in town. 3 LCBOs in small towns around me would have them. Okay, so did you check a beer store, or did you forget about that place? And Eric Gilbert says, have a huge history at the sale. Hey, we'll read it online if you want to post in the comments.
Or better yet, come join us. Nick will send you the link.
Oh, right.
No, Nick's not going to send you the link.
As long as he has the beer with him right now.
Anyway, moving along. So what is it? Redbeard says none had it. Completely didn't think about the damn beer store. Well, you should have fucking thought of that earlier.
Fucking Redbeard.
Redbeard, get your shit together, okay?
God.
You live in a relatively isolated area. You have limited resources. You'd think you'd know to like tap all resources before you give up on an expedition of sorts.
Also, Nick will shortly be announcing next week's beer. You go out tomorrow, because you don't work during the day. Go out tomorrow, first thing in the morning, and buy it. And then
First thing in the afternoon when you wake up.
And then put it in the fridge and don't drink it until next week. And then you're all set.
Unless you're too busy hanging out with the tea party or some bullshit.
Or whoever else you want to Photoshop into your photos.
All right. Let's move along here. Anybody ready for their final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll give my final thoughts.
Final thoughts, son.
Final thoughts. So yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, you know, I do enjoy brown ales. I love the, you know, it's a very simple, it's a very humble, it's a very honest style of beer. And something that actually something that a lot of craft breweries sort of fuck up with this type of style. They try to like change it. They try to add shit. They try to make it this and make it that, when it's really just supposed to be a malt forward, you know, medium to light bodied beer, nothing crazy, a little bit of extra flavor, something satisfying that you can just slam down a few pints of and, you know, have fun. And, you know, I sort of find that this sort of checks all the styles. I mean, it's not a mind-blowing beer whatsoever. You know, there's very little to no hop aroma. When you mentioned that there's Chinook and Centennial in this, I was a little sort of flabbergasted because it's like, why even fucking bother? Like, whatever amount they put in, it's negligible. But, you know, it sort of has a medium to light body. You definitely pick up on some caramel notes, a little bit of burnt toffee. You get some bready biscuitiness, get some copper coin to it. Sort of fits all the bill. Maybe a touch of like hop, like dirty hoppiness towards the end. But I mean, it drinks really easy. It's 4.6%. Like Chris, I got a second can. I'm probably just gonna, you know, when I saw it was only like 4.7%, I was like, yeah, I'll grab another can because why not? I'll probably enjoy it. So, now it's not the best brown ale I've ever had. I don't even know what would have been the best brown ale, but you know, it's a good beer. I enjoy it. It's not offensive. So I'm gonna say for actual style, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It's not bad. It's not fantastic, but I think it's a pretty solid representation of the style. Maybe if it just had a little bit more in the way of like a hot presence to it, and I don't mean like a lot. I mean just like a little bit more, like a little bit more dirtiness, a little bit more earthiness, something else to it. So 7.5 for style, and I'll give it a 7.5 for personal enjoyment. I enjoy it. I'm gonna gladly drink this other one probably before we finish the show. So there we go.
Nice.
Oh, I wish my wife had a little more dirtiness.
Ooh. All right, Lee.
This is still good. I don't know if it's as good as I remember it being the last time I had it years ago, but it still fits the bill for the style. Like Ashley said, sort of hits all the notes. It's malt forward. It's fairly light bodied. Sort of a little bit of toffee thing there. I equate it to kind of like brown bread, but way sweeter. This sort of fits into the northern style, I guess, brown ale, English brown ale at least, which tend to be on the sweeter side. I find this maybe a little teeny bit too sweet, and when it was colder in the glass, it was almost like an apple sweetness. As it warmed up, that sort of went down, and the maltiness came out. Good, not mind blowing. At one point, this was a standard bearer for the style. No longer, I'd say, but it's still solid for style. Like I said, hits all the notes. It's not mind blowing for the style, which again is not a mind blowing style. So I'll go 7 for style. Personal enjoyment, like I said, it's all right. I'll throw a 6 at it. So, all in all, not too much lower than what I was thinking about it back in the day when I gave it my novice review of the shit. So there we go.
Like a 5 out of 5 Guinness or anything.
No, I gave it a 4 out of 5. And then that's more of like a combined score of style and enjoyment kind of thing back in the day. So whatever.
All right, cool. All right, Mr. Chris.
All right. So my opinion, having this one,
Your own opinion.
Time. The reason I don't gravitate towards brown ales is because for some reason these ones give me that copper or metallic taste to them every time I drink it. It is malt forward. I get it. And it's super light bodied. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the brown ales, but you know what? It is what it is. And I'm going to actually, okay. So for the style for brown ale, it's a brown ale. It is what it is. I keep fucking saying that like it's my fucking trademark now. And for the style, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for style. And for my own personal enjoyment, I'm not a fan. I'm going to bring it down a bit. I think I'm going to give this one a 5.5. Whoa. For my own style. And now I'm going to physics it. I'm going to pour this out here.
The physics commences.
Yeah, we're going to pour the physics right now.
100% you right now because your physics.
Physics is right
Physics.
now. Put a little bit of head on this.
Physicist.
Physics.
Physics. It's physics.
Fezziwig.
Fizzywigs.
So we have physics, which is
Your hose is dripping.
oh shit.
That's a problem when you get older.
Yeah, it is. So now I have physics it, and it's probably gonna taste the same. And fucking physics isn't some fucking magical hop, fucking double high hop, fucking thing to it, but it will.
I'm just waiting for steam to come out of his nose. Be like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Okay, now this is automatically. Now, you know what? I praise the fucking machine, and there's a reason for it. Because this thing, it changed the mouthfeel on this one for sure. It actually brought it up to a high medium body on this one. The head on this one is creamy, and I got dogs fighting outside. We got dog fights happening here in Chippewa. This has actually made, for me, in my opinion, has made the beer a little bit more better. But just for my own opinion, the taste is the same. I'm still tasting that metallic taste. Personal enjoyment, I'll bump it up to 6 with the physics.
Okay.
That's
all right. Okay, so yeah, so what you're saying is that Newcastle Brown would be good if it were nitro.
If Newcastle Brown had a better body on it, it wouldn't necessarily be better by taste, but for mouthfeel, yes.
All right. All right, Greg. What's your
Hi.
You're gonna bring the score up, so
stop presenting me, Nick.
Oh yeah, shit.
Well, I think I'll definitely bring it up over Chris's score. I like this beer. I I gravitate, if I'm going to do a brown ale, I like a nice American brown, like with lots of hops in it. There aren't too many of those around, unfortunately. So, yeah, again, I don't go to this kind of style, though. I agree with Chris that I used to always get that coppery taste in my mouth with brown ales or just about any British ale. I don't get that anymore. I don't know if I outgrew it or what, or maybe my palate's too stupid now to pick up on those flavors. But so I don't get those, and I actually can quite enjoy those. And I imagine if I was in an English pub, I would quite enjoy drinking like 12 of these because that's how smooth it goes down. So I mean, it's a good beer. Like it's as far as brown ales go. Like I found there's been plenty that have been offensive. This one's not. It's kind of sweet. People are gonna think I'm a little crazy, but it almost reminds me of like what a Guinness might taste like if it wasn't nitroed. I don't know, like it kind of gives me a little bit of that vibe.
See that?
And then I also get a bit of a grape taste to it. So I don't know, that's probably throwing my opinion out the window. Anyway, for a brown ale, it's an 8 for me. It's not offensive. It goes down smooth, which I really think that's what the style's supposed to do. I'm not rating against hoppy brown ales because those are a different beast. And personal enjoyment, it's a 7. It's good. I don't love it. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it, but if I could get a whole bunch of them cheap in Vegas, I'd certainly get drunk off of it.
Nice. So, what did you say for your last one? Sorry.
I gave it an 8 and a 7.
A 7. All right. So the reverse of everybody else. All right. So, what's my final thoughts here? Well, I didn't even give my little history on it here. So, I did the review of this a long, long time ago. One of my earliest reviews I did for number 85. Back then, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 because I must have liked it. I didn't really rewatch that video, but shit, that was back in July.
That's almost your standard Nick score.
Yeah, shut up. Anyway, so now, I don't know, baby palates evolve, I guess. And right now, I'm kind of getting this, when you take a whiff of it, it's almost got like an English toffee kind of bready aroma. In the taste, you get caramel, toffee, bready. There's some nutty qualities in it. The big thing that I find with this, it's like there's a watery, kind of watery, earthy finish on it too. It's a hint tangy in the back. But the biggest thing I get from this is it's kind of weak. And with the wateriness that I get out of this, it almost feels like it's almost like one of those beers that somebody's brewed and would originally be clear if they didn't add food coloring to it. Just the whole thought about adding coloring to it. And I kind of see that here where it's just, when I think about a real brown ale, I mean, this used to be what I would consider the archetype of the style, where this is not the original brown ale, but like the one that popularized the style back in 30 years. This is the brown ale that pretty much anybody who wanted to create a brown ale 10, 15 years ago would emulate.
But you're saying that's the OG?
It was the OG of brown ales. Yes, son. Overusing sons here. But overall, I mean, right now, I just find it a little on the weak and soggy side. And I'm just thinking, it's either not as good as it used to be, or I'm just not feeling this one. And I've had way more better brown ale since then.
It's supposed to be soggy.
Anyway, so I got to say, for the style, I'm going to give it a middle of the road rating for the style of brown ale. Give it a 7, but for overall enjoyment, 6.5. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
There you go.
Right on. All right, so let's go over to the comments in there. Holy shit, there's a lot of them.
What happened?
Whoa, blew up.
Yeah, start with rating.
All right, does anybody want to read the comments? Because I'm going to do the scores.
Yeah,
all over it.
Give me a second here. I'll go into the comment machine and
sure.
Pick out the best comments.
Go to the past. Get those comments.
I only go to the past to find my socks. I don't want to cause a paradox of any sort.
Pair of socks.
A socks paradox. Okay, so we're starting with Rating on Your Parade. Didn't pick this up for 101. I revisited this a week and a half ago after some years, and I did drain pour this after 6 to 7 sips. I do not remember where it was brewed. This beer in America turned to shit many years ago, like 15 years ago. Loved it back in the day, way too macro now. Raidbeard says, anyone else noticing Chris is super quiet?
That's because I was physicsing and my mic was away from my face.
And also, Redbeard, you're just super fucking loud. Raining on your parade says, breaking news, Lagunitas is now going to be making Newcastle Brown Ale. Cannot wait to see that. Very
Crazy.
interesting. That is interesting. Eric Gilbert says he finds it's much sweeter than compared to my chugging English bitter days. It was a great session start. And then Eric Gilbert goes on to say, pump up the volume.
Dance.
Talking about
And Redbeard says he's whisper quiet, and that is a dirty damn lie. Much like your photoshopped pictures.
Mm-hmm. Oh, shots fired.
who is that? What was her name? Jamie? Who is that anyway? By the way, anybody know?
I thought it was Courtney Love.
Wow.
Didn't she kill herself?
No, that was her husband.
Oh.
Way to be insensitive, Greg.
Too soon?
So was it too soon? Didn't he die like 80 years ago?
Like 25 years ago or something.
Yeah, it's been like 20 years.
It has 25 this year.
It's insane. We're old.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain would be 50-something right now.
Damn.
Time flies when you're listening to grunge.
All right, time flies. You're writing up the beer history. So there we go. There is our ratings for tonight.
So it's pretty good for Newcastle.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping it'd be maybe a bit better, but I don't know. I just got the overall impression it's not as good as it used to be.
You're the one that really shit on it.
It's been
Yeah, you're fucking. It's your fault. Really.
I shit on it too. Don't worry, I shit on it.
No, it's Nick's fault. Shut up. It's Nick's fault.
Okay. It's all Nick's fault.
6.52 grid or 6 or something. Lee.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, you gave the second lowest rating.
Over the past.
I don't
Blaming
think I did.
Nick for atrocities. I did not see that coming.
You totally did because Chris. Anyway, whatever. Chris is.
I really don't think I did.
Okay then. Here's the text file I wrote everything in. You see where Lee did a 7 and a 6, and Chris gave it a 7 and 5.5.
Well, look what he's doing on the screen here, folks. He's highlighting things. He's obviously editing the fucking scores on this thing.
You think my scores are photoshopped?
You could have manipulated that any way you wanted to.
Nick,
I would trust you.
Nick, I would say your integrity right now is quite hazy and might have some chunks in it.
Yeah, we can't trust you. Look at the score you gave Newcastle Brown. You sunk the fucking score.
Did I give it the highest personal enjoyment score?
I think you did.
You probably did because you're a person of integrity.
Was it you? You're the only. No, Greg gave Greg gave an 8.
Yeah, grave. Bury this whole show in a grave. Jesus Christ, it's going down.
Fucking show.
Going down faster than the Titanic.
Oh
my god.
Oh, too soon. Sorry.
And it ain't gonna float like Leo did.
Not gonna float in a piece of wood. There was more than enough room on that piece of wood.
There was more than one piece of fucking wood out there. Go swim to another one.
Listen, if the car scene taught us nothing, she likes to spread her legs and needs the room.
Go punch somebody else with a life jacket on that's floating in the water.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Take the life jacket.
Why not just build a raft out of the other corpses?
Oh, okay. That girl was your hot friend that you can't get in her pants of. That makes sense.
What are you talking about?
No, the girl
in the comments.
The Redbeard. Redbeard says she's one that loves the tea party as much as I do. So she was in the shot.
She was pretty hot.
And then
that was a nice tea party.
All right. Oh yeah. Okay. So I think we're about done here. Nobody's asked us the question. Eric Gilbert, you want to ask us the question?
Didn't they ask us like at the very beginning of the thing?
Greg asked that. It doesn't count.
Please, someone. You want?
I just log into my secret account and ask the question.
Bueller.
Well,
what be the beer of the next week? Redbeard says. Close enough, I guess.
Your parade.
It's almost English.
I'm hoping that Redbeard can get this one because it's brewed in your province. But we're gonna do Muskoka's Mad Tom next week.
I gotta wash my hair.
You gotta wash your hair. Fuck.
I think I do as well. I don't think we get that anymore. So.
I think there's like survival. The Muskoka survival pack has it in it. And
I've never had Mad Tom, so it'll be interesting.
You've never had Mad Tom?
Really? You've never had Mad Tom? Well, you can buy it at singles, so
Yes, you can.
watch it after.
Isn't there another one that's like madder, Tom? Or
They're twice as bad.
Yep.
mad? Yeah, okay.
That one's gross. Spoilers, they're both not very good beers.
I'm gonna get them both then.
I think they're
Just
both
to
not
entertain
bad
me.
beers.
Spoilers, Muskoka isn't that good.
That's
No.
pretty true, actually,
They're not.
for the most part.
Thanks for ruining it for him.
Their stout's not bad, whatever it's called.
Oh, the Chinook Stout or whatever we call it.
Shit it.
It's got my name in it.
It's not bad.
All right. So we're gonna take this offline, and this was actually a really short beer analysis tonight.
It's a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Started on time. It's 30 minutes, as they should
Yeah.
be.
What do you expect?
6 minutes late, and yet but it's only 9:41. All right, we're gonna come back online shortly with the after chat. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. Ash, Lee, Chris, Greg.
Hi.
And, hi. And we'll talk.
I got final thoughts.
And remember, kids,
Chris,
eat your ketchup.
That's awesome.
Fuck.
That's fantastic. I got a final thought here. Everyone sub to everyone's channel here except for Greg's.
Yeah, don't sub to it.
Why? Sub
I
to
don't know
the
why.
Targa.
Ashley
Yeah.
Sexton has a channel, Sexton Brewing. Nick, obviously, this channel he's hosting. I'm off the 10th. And Lee Russell has his.
Does anyone want to tag me
There
and
must
learn
be-
what I
shut
do
up,
other
Greg.
than
There
beer?
must be destroyed on
Love me
site.
too, Chris.
Channel.
Shut up on site.
On his actual channel that he does his whiskey reviews. He's fantastic. And Greg, for the love of God, fucking learn how to use the fucking mute the microphone button.
No. I have the same shirt as you, by the way.
Do you?
I do. We should wear it together. We'll be like a dynamic duo.
Dynamic.
What?
Totally kicked
That's a
that.
new word. Dynamic.
Exactly.
Dynamic. All right.
Dynamic.
Cheers, little penises.
Penis.